Welcome to the compressed Humanities Destiny course for the spring-summer 2026 semester from the Rotary Global Classroom at Durham College in Oshawa in Canada. And we are, as always, live on YouTube. And it's on YouTube where we get, most importantly, a high definition recording that is then available for all of the students afterwards. So this is a classroom and an educational experience that can be experienced in multiple ways. But you are in the right place if you are online in what I call the Cosmos, and if you are watching later asynchronously, the recording, that's fine too. As you can see, there's nobody who's joined in person today, and that occasionally happens, but probably it's because the students who have registered for this course were expecting this course to be completely online, and it can be, and it is, but there are all these other options too for students as well in terms of having an in-person experience. So I'm going to be explaining all of this for you in the next few minutes, and then we will begin to interact as best we can. But essentially, what I'm going to do today is in this first of 7 classes that we're going to be having, starting from today up until later in June, what I'm going to be doing today is laying out for you what to expect in the course, and also have a conversation with whoever has joined the class live. And for the moment, it looks like we have 2 people who are in the Cosmos, Carol and Isabel, and we will come to them shortly. But what I want to do, most importantly right now, is begin to give you a sense of how this class is going to unfold. And the first thing I always like to do in a class, when there are usually probably about 10 to 12 students in person. So if you can imagine, normally we'll have the couches filled and there will be one student who will become the note taker or the scribe. And I will task that student with going over to the smartboard and beginning to make notes. But I'm going to do all of that today, okay? So I'm the only person in person. But let me just show you something about how it's going to work in terms of the beginning of a class and the participation. And we'll take this step by step, okay? So first, let me take you over to the smartboard. That's the first thing. And the smartboard is what you can see behind me on the big board, the big video dashboard that we have in the global classroom, something that we're really proud of at Durham College. And you can see in one of the panels behind me is a blown up index card with GC on it. And already you can see it says Humanities Destiny, Wednesday, May 6, 2026, on board, Working Tech. Yes, that's a character in this class, Working Tech. Lon Appleby, me, Carol Peralta, and I'm going to go and add one more student there in a moment, and watch how this is going to work. So let me bring the student who is already in the Cosmos with her microphone. Isabel, can you go ahead and unmute yourself, please?
Okay.
Great. Okay, so watch how this is going to work. I'm going to take the camera over here, and what you're going to do is, as I'm speaking and still talking to you, you're going to see me now in a big kind of close-up. Okay, hi, Isabel. You can see me now?
Hi. Yeah.
Okay, so Isabel, you have to tell me, I'm going to put you on the board as on board. I want to add you to this because this is part of your participation marks. Can you tell me how to spell your name? Go ahead.
Isobel.
Isobel, yep.
And then my last name is Weir, Weir.
Perfect. Okay, great. Isabel Weir. So essentially, what's going to happen is at the beginning of every class, there will be probably me. If it's going to be me through the semester alone in the room, I can do all of this, not a problem. But we generally fill up the board with what I call the crew. if you will. Every class is like a journey, and stepping into this educational space that I've created with the college is a bit like going into a fairly sophisticated piece of machinery, a spacecraft, if you will. And so I always like to think of the students who join us as part of the crew. And normally we will see on this board a number of names of in-person students, but then those who are in the cosmos, I will always add a little bit of C like this, okay? So Isabel's in the cosmos, Carol's, in the cosmos today, and actually I'll keep it a little bit more simple. I can just sort of put a C like this, and there we go, and a C like this, there we go. I'm in person, so I'm not going to do anything. I'm definitely right there, and working tech is also in person too. And the reason why I put working tech there is because this space, as I've said, is very sophisticated from an educational standpoint in what we're doing. And sometimes the tech doesn't work, and there are workarounds, and you will watch me do those workarounds on the fly. And that's something that I think you're going to find interesting in how I troubleshoot in front of you. And you can see then something about dealing with complexity in a very, very difficult world. So Isabel, there you go. That's a little bit of a sense. I'm going to go back to the podium right now and continue to teach from here. And what I do is I just bring the camera back here, and you can still see everything up there. So let me just stop for a second before I continue with what I do want to provide to you today, because I'm kind of doing a little workaround on the fly right now. I had planned to have maybe one or two students in person, so I'm kind of just adjusting for the moment to the fact that there's nobody in person, and this is going to be just completely a Cosmos class, and not a problem. But I just want to check in with Isabel, for example, to make sure that everything's sort of making sense at this point in terms of what you're witnessing and whether you have any questions. Isabel, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think I'm all good. I've never been to the Oshawa campus before, which is why I opted for online today.
Yes. Good. Okay. Well, is it okay if, because you're the only officially registered participant in today's class, that I kind of bring you more in to the class today and talk to you more, and it will help a lot of the students who are watching the recording later. Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so let me just think for a moment as we carry on. It is actually kind of fun to be here with all this tech by myself, teaching you from here. So essentially, what you can expect in humanity's destiny is, first, I want to deal with the workload that you're going to have this semester. Then I'm going to get to the content. And Isabel, if there's anything that you want to ask or anything you want to say as I'm speaking, just go ahead and jump on your microphone and say, Lon, I have a question, or Lon, there's something I'd like to say, and we will interact at that point, okay? Or if you're more comfortable, you can keep yourself muted and put your questions into the live chat, and I'll take it up that way. So there are lots of ways you can participate, but essentially, as long as you're ready at any point, Isabel, when I say, could you please unmute yourself, then we can have a conversation, okay? So,
All right, perfect.
great. So, because there is just one student officially registered online right now, I'm going to be doing quite a bit of talking for the duration of today's class. And I think I will keep the class a little bit shorter as well, since there won't be any need for an activity or take up, and I can just deliver you the critical content, which you will then be able to start your reflections on. But the workload that you're expected to be producing this semester. Okay, well, let me come a little bit closer and let me just make sure that everything is working on YouTube, and I can see that up here. I can see the YouTube live stream in the corner of the screen on the big board, and usually there's a bit of a delay, but I like to check that to make sure, because if the YouTube live stream crashes, then there is no live stream and there is no recording. So, workload. Well, as you've probably already begun to see from the class so far, this is a super flexible class in the sense that you can come in person and be part of the live class. You can be in the Cosmos or online, as Isabel and Carol are right now, or you can be among the asynchronous students who watch the recording later. So there's three ways really that you can engage in the class, and in terms of those ways that you engage, that also affects the work that you do and how you will be marked in the class. So participation is important, but there are also options for you, okay? So let me just explain how that's going to work in terms of if you came in person, if you stay in the Cosmos, or if you just stay asynchronously watching the recordings. Those are the three ways you can participate: in person, synchronously, which is live, the way Isabel and Carol are now, or asynchronously, which is at any time you can be watching the recording later. So essentially, the way it normally works is that you will be doing a lot of reflecting and writing about the classes. And every single class that you have with Humanities Destiny in the 7 throughout this compressed course involves a reflection, a discussion post at the end of the class that is due the following week. So essentially you have 7 discussion posts. So what I'll do to make it really simple is I'm going to go back to the smartboard for you and write this down for you as well, okay? So, Isabel, just know that I can't quite see the live. Oh, I can see the live chat clearly, but if you want to say anything at this point, it would be better to just jump on your microphone since the live chat is further away from me from now, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of make another card for you, another index card, as you can see, of what to expect in terms of the workload and the marking. And then I'm going to get to the content. But what's important is that you look at this smartboard and what I'm doing right now is kind of like live PowerPoint slides. That's what they are. And normally there will be a student here who's taking notes while we are in the nucleus over there having a conversation, and I'm doing lectures from there and we're talking about that, but a student will be taking notes. But essentially, there's always going to be at the beginning of every class, there will be the onboard card. So just imagine that you're getting your PowerPoint now, which is what a lot of you want, but I don't deliver prepared PowerPoint slides because they tend to age very quickly. And also, just doing classes via PowerPoint slides is really deadly. And in my estimation, it's killing education and classrooms and making education even more boring than it has been and even less engaging. So this is a bit more like a live PowerPoint slide, but it's critical information. So watch what I'm going to do, okay? I bring this over here, and I'm going to do now the marking, okay? So we'll call it, workload this semester, okay? Workload this semester. So I'm going to check in for a moment with Isabel to see what she was expecting and what she knew about humanity's destiny in terms of workload. And so, Isabel, could you go ahead and explain what your expectations are?
I would assume that like most general education courses, there would be discussion posts every week.
Yep.
With some sort of assignment to complete alongside that.
Well, actually, it's going to be a little more simple than that because the assignments I have changed to make it easier for this semester, and I'm going to show you how that's going to work in a moment, okay? So really, what you're going to be doing are discussion posts through the semester, but I will double check that, okay, to make sure. So the critical thing is that you are doing discussion posts. And these discussion posts are personal reflections. So this is really critical for you to understand that there are no tests, no exams in this course. I'm not going to be testing you on pieces of information or small matters. You will be reflecting on large ideas and big global forces in the story of humanity's future. And you have to be using language. You have to be processing that in your own words, and you have to be integrating the course material into those reflections. So reflecting and thinking about what we covered in the classes and how it relates to your life and your future and our future is very, very important in terms of the learning experience. And so it's important for me to say at this point, if you have any trouble writing, and you know you do, or you don't like writing, you must let me know ASAP. And I'll just ask Isabel, for example, just because her experience and her answer today will be something all of the other students in the class will be listening to and will be interested in. And she will be speaking for many of the other students too, because she's a student among many. So Isabel, do you like to write, or do you kind of resist it?
I don't mind writing as a form of expressing ideas, but I find that if you have to write something that's longer than like a page or two, it gets a little bit boring.
Yes. What program are you in?
I'm in a welding program.
You're in the which?
The welding program.
The Lowen program? Sorry, I didn't hear that correctly.
Sorry, the welding program.
Oh, the welding program. Okay, so you're in a trades program, and which is highly creative, and requires a lot of problem solving, but may not be involving as much writing as someone in general arts and science, for example.
Yeah, no, I don't do very much paperwork.
Yeah, sure. Okay. But nonetheless, I take the view, Isabel, that when you writing is not just about expressing, it's also about understanding how to think and what you want to say. So writing is an intellectual exercise that every human being needs to learn how to do better so they can understand more how to process complicated information. And writing can really help you do that, even in terms of a creative field, one with your hands. There are going to be times when you have to draw up plans, you have to make proposals and pitching projects to people, or you may just be trying to figure out what life means, and you keep a journal. And writing can help you to really clarify how you feel about something and how to think about something. So it's my belief that if I can help all students write more effectively and be better communicators, they will also be better thinkers in general for a complicated world. Does that make sense, Isabel?
Yeah, I definitely keep a journal.
Oh, you do?
For
Okay.
my personal,
Okay.
for my personal thoughts and
Okay. Great.
ideas.
Great. Okay. Well, I want to go back to the big board for a second to show you something about these reflections and how they're going to work. But I want you to just remember that the bulk of the work that you're going to be doing this semester, large portion of it, will be in reflecting on the classes that you have watched or you have participated in, reflecting on the other resources that are posted for you on DC Connect, and those reflections will be done in the form of discussion posts, longer discussion posts. So let me give you an example, okay, of how this is going to work. I'm going to take you right now to, oops, it's over here. I'm going to take you to behind me right now. I've just posted on the big board behind me the DC Connect platform for the other class that I'm teaching this semester called Short History of the World, which I teach out of the Global Classroom. And in both Humanities Destiny and Short History of the World, I teach in the same format, different content, but same format. So I have yet to prepare the discussion posts for you and Humanities Destiny yet, but I have for Short History of the World, and there are already some reflections posted there. So I'm going to go over to Short History of the World to show you the instructions for those discussion posts and maybe one or two of the discussion posts already done. So you get a sense of what you're going to be doing for Humanities Destiny. Is that clear, Isabel?
Yep.
Great. Okay. If there's anything that doesn't make sense or you're having trouble following, just please let me know, but I'll assume that it's all making sense. Okay. And
Will do.
Carol, if there's anything also you want to add, feel free to. You're always welcome to. I just want to mention to all of you that Carol, once again, she is a volunteer, a previous student who acts as almost like an assistant for me here, and she joins the classes, but she's not officially registered. But she's a great help, and she loves the content that we explore. So I often will reach out to her. Carol, is there anything you want to add to what I've been telling Isabel?
No, I'm clear. I'm okay.
Okay, great. Yeah, feel free. And Carol, if there's anything, just go ahead and throw it in the live chat. But that's something that I do encourage for all of you watching, is that I actually open this classroom up to anybody who wants to join us. Students will often drop in who've taken other classes of mine. Students will drop in person, online. I welcome that because something that you're going to be learning about me as your professor this semester is that my real interest as your professor is to teach you, to truly help you, not just to process marks and credentials for you. The reason I say that, and I will be returning to this a lot this semester, and you will see me constantly wanting you to engage with this too in your reflections. You are living in a highly complicated, almost new world. And I believe in the marrow of my bones that young people need to be smarter than ever today. Otherwise, the world is going to roll right over them. And I will get into this in much more detail with more passion throughout the semester. But it's really important for you to understand that I'm here as your professor because I care about your future and humanity's future. And when I look at the work that you do this semester in terms of the reflections that you will be doing, I very much want to see a student who's engaging with the ideas that we explore in the class, particularly this idea called complexity, this complex world. And I will explain more about what complexity means and how that will factor into your own future. But I need to say something very, very clearly now to all of you. And Isabel, you must listen to this. If there's one thing that you can take away from today's class, it's what I'm about to tell you in terms of artificial intelligence. You must, when you are reflecting, let me come a little closer, okay? And I'll see if I can do this here. Okay, good. Can you see me okay, Isabel?
Yeah, I can see you.
Great. When I said that the world, for all of you today, is a very complicated, uncertain place with so much potential but so much challenge in the future, and we will be getting into that, I mean it. And I know what I'm talking about, too. I've been teaching for many years, and I come from a long background in journalism and television and producing, and I've helped create this new educational experience. So I really care about this. Artificial intelligence, as you all know, is a powerful new tool that has been introduced to humanity in the last few years. Artificial intelligence, as in ChatGPT and other platforms that you have access to, enables you, as you know, to completely cheat your way through school and not get caught. That's how smart the machines are now. And there are students who know this. And you may, some of you, be among those students. I'm not going to identify anybody ever by name. I'm never going to target anybody and say, why did you use ChatGPT to write all of your assignments? I will do that privately with you and find out what's going on. But I need to say something. If you want to be ready for the world today, if you want to succeed when you graduate, if you want to know how to thrive in this world, then you need to know how to use these tools in a way that's going to make you smarter, not in a way that's going to replace your thinking for you. I cannot tell you how heartbreaking it is and how sad and depressing it is when I read final assignments from students after having gone through a whole semester with me, and it is so obvious that they never wrote it, that they just simply farmed it out to ChatGPT. And it breaks my heart to fail those students. You don't want to be among those students this semester. And so this is what I'm telling you. If you don't understand what I've just said about the abuse of AI to do the work for you in this course, you must email me ASAP. Do I need to say that again, Isabel? Like, it's so obvious what I'm saying, or does it need to be repeated?
No, I've got you.
Okay. I will just say finally about this before I go over to some of the discussion posts. I am not saying don't use these platforms. What I'm saying is don't abuse these platforms. And there's an awful lot of abuse taking place right now of ChatGPT in classrooms around the world. And educators are tearing their hair out going, how are we going to deal with ensuring that our young people are smart enough for a complicated world if they're not thinking anymore? Okay, so I really feel strongly about that. Okay, so let's take a look at this discussion post that you're going to be doing. And then what I'll do is I'll take maybe 15 or 20 minutes to talk about the content, and then we will begin to conclude the class today. And I'll post some more items for you online for you. There's only so much talking that I can do, and there's so much listening that you can do before you're all going to tune out. So essentially, take a look at what is done in short history of the world. Okay, so this will be the exact same thing for you. I'll blow this up so you can see. Are you, Isabel, are you on a phone or are you on a laptop right now?
I'm on my computer right now.
Okay, so as I blow this up on the big board behind me, are you able to see this week 1 discussion board behind me?
Yeah, I can read it.
Can you actually read it?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so good. I'll read it out loud for you too, but as long as you can follow along, great. Okay, so essentially, this is the first discussion post that has been posted for my short history of the world class, but it will be exactly the same format for you and the same deadlines and everything, okay? But I will be posting that for you later today. But here we go. Week 1 discussion board. Week 1 reflection. The value of it is 14% of your final grade, okay? The length of it is 325 to 350 words, and it's due Sunday, May the 10th. So keep that in mind, that you have your first reflection. It's going to be due this coming Sunday, May the 10th. All right. Normally you'll have a little more time for them. This week it's a little bit shorter, and of course it's compressed. But essentially the instructions will go something like this. In here, I've said after watching the recorded lectures for week 1 for short history of the world, there won't be recorded lectures that you're going to watch. They're going to be classes. So it would say, after watching class 1 and familiarizing yourself with the resources in the class 1 folder, please post on the week 1 discussion board one question you believe is important to ask, along with the reason for that question. So this is going to be a common thing you're going to be doing throughout the semester every week, and it will be due every Sunday, May the 10th, starting this Sunday. Perhaps I'll extend these deadlines a little bit to give you a little more time, but expect that every week you will watch a class recording, or you participate in a class, you do the reflection. The question and the reason are worth 14% of your final grade, should be between 325 and 350 words, and should be posted no later than Sunday, May the 10th at 11:59 p.m. And look at the marking scheme. Always out of 5. 4 or 5 out of 5 means you've done a thoughtful, encompassing reflection that shows excellent integration of course material. Isabel, what do you think it means when I say that you've done excellent integration of course material?
It means that you used reasoning from our lecture to come up with an explanation for your ideas and your thinking.
Exactly. And when we talk about integrating the course material, and I'm asking you to reflect, will you be reflecting on things that are outside of the class, or will you be reflecting on things that happened during the class?
You'll be reflecting on things that happened during the class.
Exactly, exactly. And this is really important. It may seem obvious, Isabel, but you would be surprised. This is one clue for me that a student is using ChatGPT, but there are many others I can tell you. But one is that a student will do a really good reflection that is so well written. That tells me another thing too. If it's really, really well written, obviously the machine did it, not a student, because students always have mistakes. But the second thing is a student will be reflecting on something that had nothing to do with the class. It may be sort of related, but it's not really. And that tells me that the student didn't watch the class, the student didn't watch the lectures, the student is not integrating the course material, and that's why the student gets a big fat 0 on their discussion post. Okay, so I've put in bold, please note, AI written sentences and using other people's sentences without attribution or plagiarism will be strictly penalized. And then you can always contact me. I put my email at the bottom. Okay, so this is the basic format that you will be following for every discussion post. And then I can see, for example, in Short History of the World, I already have a couple of discussion posts that have been put there for this week. I haven't marked them yet, but usually what I will do is I can see Juliet Hayes and Duke Hollywall have put their discussion post in for Short History of the World, and I will read them, and I will grade them. And let's just see. For the moment, I'm looking at Juliet's, and it's looking pretty good. And I can even see as I'm scanning it quickly that there's content in her reflection that was in my lectures. So I know that she's integrating course material. Okay. And you will find that as you watch these discussion posts being posted on Humanities Destiny discussion posts or boards, that you will be inspired by what some of the students write, and it may motivate you to write even better. If you don't understand what I've just said, you have questions, or you need help with your writing, and you know that you are someone who struggles with writing and would like real help, please email me as soon as you can, and I will get you that help, okay? But these discussion posts are going to be critical. There may be 1 or 2 assignments that I will be posting as well. I will let you know next week. But at least now you can know, and I will go back to the board and write this deadline for you. Hold on a second, and I'm going to take you back to here. And I'll check in with Isabel to see how she's doing. Isabel, when is the first discussion post due in Humanities Destiny?
Sunday, May 10th.
Lovely. Okay, so DP1, I call it DP1, due Sunday, May the 10th. Okay. And integration of course material is critical. Integration of course material. Okay, I've covered that. You see, we're doing kind of a bit of a live PowerPoint slide here. And I like to always keep it fresh so that whatever content is put up on the cards is really, really current. And it's very important to be current in the classroom today. So integration of course material and writing well is vital. Okay, so here are some points for you in terms of what to expect from the next 7 weeks. We have the discussion posts, their personal reflections. You're always going to be asking a question and then giving a reason for that question every week. The first discussion post is due Sunday, May the 10th. I'm looking for integration of course material, and writing well is vital. And finally, please contact me. Okay? Please contact me if you need help. I'm just an email away, and I'm always going to be there to help you and make sure that if you require a tutor to help you with the reflections, or there's anything else that you require, I'll make sure that someone is there for you, okay? So this is just a very introductory overview of the workload, but the essential thing is there. And the essential thing is you're going to be doing a lot of reflecting. Okay, so now I want to get to the content of the course, and then we're going to conclude. So give me a moment, and I will bring this up here, and I'll just reduce this a little bit. Oopsie daisy. Yeah, hold on. There we go. Okay. So Isabel, could you please read to me the breakdown of the topics in sort of orange behind me?
I cannot read any of it.
Oh, you can't? Okay, it's not
It's a
legible.
little bit
Let me
too
try.
blurry. It's a little too small.
Okay, I'll read it out. I'll read it for you, okay? Here we go. So, what are the topics? What will I be lecturing on? And what will you be learning about and exploring together this semester? Well, I've broken it down for you in terms of the critical topics. And each week I will largely be examining these topics, sometimes one or two of them, sometimes all of them, but I'm always going to be looking at these topics from different perspectives through the next 7 weeks. And of course, here is what you can expect. Today, I'm doing a little bit of the course introduction. Next week, or even a little bit this week, we'll see if we have time. I'm going to talk about how to think about the future in sort of more realistic and concrete ways, not in terms of pie in the sky, unrealistic, far off, abstract visions for the future, but how to think about the next 30 years, 50 years, or 100 years of your life and the world around you. How can you be making more accurate forecasts and thinking about predictive things so that you can have more control of your life and understand more about what humanity could be doing to solve some of its problems in the future? How to think about the future in concrete, specific ways. History's lessons is something I will definitely be touching on, particularly since short history of the world is something that I've been teaching for a long time here, and human history and the story of the human race on planet Earth is very much a part of short history of the world. So there are lessons from history, lessons from the story of humanity and what's been happening on this planet in all the millions of years of life and activity on planet Earth that can tell us something about what we might be seeing unfold in the next decades and centuries. We're going to look at the next big thing, what is coming in science and technology that could be a game-changing new development in the way, for example, that artificial intelligence has recently been, or before that, when we had desktop computers or mobile telephones, or you go back further when we started to look at the coming of television or radio or automobiles, or even going back further, the telephone. There have been, for the last 150 years or so, a remarkable accelerated slew of new big things in technological development that have changed the way humans interact and the way we live. So something's coming. There's going to be a new big thing coming. Where might it be coming from? We will explore that. We're going to look at this idea of together on Earth, or the idea of freedom and a connected society in which all humanity now, we know, lives together, connected through technology on one planet. This hasn't always been the case in human society. We have been here as humans with our societies formed into this thing called human civilization only for a few thousand years, and we weren't connected. China was over there, India was over there, the Americas were over there, Europe was up here, Africa was down there, and there were all the different cultures and societies and civilizations, but they weren't connected through technology the way we are now. So we've all been sort of thrown together now on planet Earth, and this has raised some very important questions about how we're going to manage this global society going forwards, and how we're going to remain free as we do this, how we're going to develop governing structures that will allow all of us to move forwards together, respecting each other's rights and understanding that every single human on this planet, wherever they may be, has as much right to be here as you do, and your friends do, and anybody else. And this creates great dilemmas for humanity and how we deal with this incredible diversity. We're going to look at the two great intellectual forces that humans have established in the story of human civilization, and they are the forces of science and the forces of religion. These are global forces, forces like technology, for example, that every human being has to deal with in one form or another. And they're fascinating because sometimes when it comes to the force of science or the force of religion in our lives, they clash. They may seem to have different objectives for humanity. And we're going to look at what that means, how we can find a way forward to ensure that science and religion can always coexist peacefully. We'll look at a current event or two happening in the world today that might give us a sense of what to expect more of in the future. We're definitely going to be looking at space exploration a lot, something I call new worlds. And you can see behind me, for example, right now, just a few images from that extraordinary mission that was just completed called Artemis 2. Isabel, do you know what the Artemis 2 mission was?
I can say I heard about some of it from online, but I have no clue.
Okay, well, Isabel, you probably know more than you think. So right now, if you look at the big board, you will see a gallery of images from the Artemis 2 website from NASA. Okay, so NASA is the American Space Agency, and it recently launched 4 astronauts into space, including 1 Canadian, and they flew around the moon, and they went further around the moon than any other humans have ever gone, and then they came back to Earth. And their mission was a great success, and it was live streamed, much of it, and there were some extraordinary images that the astronauts saw and captured for humanity, and some of those are up on the big board right now. And so tell me, as you look at this, I'm just kind of curious how much you can actually see, Isabel, from where you are. I'm almost treating you like you're sitting here in person, but what do you see in the gallery right now of
I
images?
see there's like pictures of the moon.
Yes.
I think one of them is the sun actually coming over the moon.
Yes, go on.
And
then
there's one of the astronauts actually in the spacecraft.
Excellent. Let me see if I can, actually, I don't think I can enlarge them right now, but it just might be a little too complicated for me to do. But essentially, in those images, you will also see a very famous image called Earthrise, which is you see the planet Earth rising with the sun on it over the horizon of the moon. And this image was taken many, many years ago in the first missions to the moon. And the astronauts who just took the same pictures recently were showing us the same image again. And this image of the planet Earth rising over the horizon of the moon is a defining image for all of humanity, Isabel, since that first picture was taken back in the late 1960s when we went to the moon for the first time and we took this picture. It was the first time the humans had actually seen the planet whole in a photograph. And it was a very powerful moment for humanity. And now we're seeing it again over 50 years later, recently with the Artemis 2 mission. And this speaks very much to humanity's destiny. For all of you who would like to understand the importance of space exploration in our future, what we will be looking at this semester in the idea of new worlds for humanity in space exploration is not just what are the new worlds that we humans are beginning to sense or probe is out there beyond Earth, as in what's taking place on Mars. Is it possible that there are forms of early ingredients of life on Mars, as in remains of water that could indicate that there might have been more developed life on Mars? What do we know about Saturn and Pluto and Uranus and Venus and Mercury and our solar system? And what do we know about planets that we're discovering in the next solar system close to us called exoplanets, which also may have some form of life on them? In other words, are we humans, through space exploration and the probes and missions that we're sending, getting closer to answering the question, are we alone on this planet? Or perhaps we aren't. Perhaps there is something else out there in our solar system or beyond that would indicate for humans, for the first time in all of life and all of development on this planet, that actually we are not alone. What a remarkable discovery that might be. But there are all sorts of questions we can ask about space exploration and the new worlds. But new worlds also means when we see the planet Earth from such a distance, and when we know its vulnerabilities, when we look at the biosphere and we understand what life is from a distance, does that also mean that we have to develop a new way of thinking about planet Earth? Is there a new world that we have to be entertaining in our minds about how we live our lives on planet Earth? That too is part of New Worlds. I'm also going to be looking at the human brain and the latest in neuroscience to give us a sense of what we're learning in the growth of human development, because so much of what's going to happen in the future and so much of what's going to take place in humanity's destiny, your destiny, takes place in your brain, takes place in what you imagine, what you think. And so understanding what we're learning about the human brain, what we're learning about memory, what we're learning about vision making, what we're learning about the ability to communicate, about the ability to learn, what we're learning about in terms of our ability as humans to extend our minds and open our minds to a bigger picture of our lives and of reality. This is a very important question. The human brain is the most powerful, evolved instrument on planet Earth. And as far as we know, it's the most powerful, evolved instrument in all of the universe that we know of yet. But there's so much we don't know about the human brain and its capacity. And I'd like to explore that for you in terms of our ability to heal. We're learning too about when people have disabilities, mental health challenges. Those are things that actually can tell us something about the brain's ability to suffer, but also to heal. And we're learning more about the complexities of the human brain that lead us finally to the final topic that we'll be looking at this semester, and that is this idea of legacy, the idea of what do you think and what would you like your legacy to be in your life if you thought about your own future through the course of your life. I will give you the chance to think about, how do you see your life unfolding? How do you imagine it? What sort of legacy would you like to leave? So these are the topics I will be exploring in different ways from week to week. Histories, lessons, the next big thing. Of course, sustainability. I didn't touch on that earlier, but here I see it just to remind you, called Sustaining It, the issue of sustainability together on Earth. Science and religion, a current event, space exploration, new worlds, the human brain, the third millennium, and legacy. So I'm going to stop. And what I'd like to do is with Isabel, I'd like to just quickly review what we've done. I'm going to go over to the smartboard now, and then we're going to conclude the class. And then you will have a chance afterwards between now and Sunday to think about what you've just heard and watched and write your first reflection. Okay, so let me go over to the board. And I think I'm going to need my glasses. And I'm going to make another slide. So I'm going to call this slide Today's Takeaway. Okay? So today's takeaway. All right. So let's do this together. We're coming to the conclusion of today's class. Normally, the class will be longer and we'll go for another half an hour, but just because there's nobody in person and it's the first class and I don't want to put too much pressure on Isabel, the one student who's here online, but at the same time, she can help us too in doing the review. So, Isabel, let's review what we've done this class. And what would you say are the 5 critical takeaway points? And I will help you with this. Anything that comes to your mind as you think back to what we just covered, what would you say is the first thing I should put up as today's takeaway? Go ahead.
Talking about how space exploration affects our future.
Nice. Okay. How space. Very good. Okay. How space exploration affects our future. Yeah. Okay. And I want you to also keep in mind that these notes that I'm doing now and that are also seen on the big board, a PDF will be made of these notes and they will be available for you in the Class 1 folder on DC Connect. Okay. So that's important for you to remember. So yes, Isabel is right. There are many things I've touched on today, but I want a student to be able to process this as Isabel is now and help us to see from a student's perspective what you believe is a takeaway. And as long as you're referring to the course material, and as long as I think that this is important, I'm going to put it up here. And what Isabel just said is important. Okay, so second thing, Isabel, what would you say is another takeaway today?
Talking about how our brain works and how we can actually suffer as individuals, but that we have healing capabilities.
Yeah. How the human brain works. Healing capabilities. And I'm just adding a little bit more to help. The latest research in neuroscience, which is the field of brain science. Okay? So neuroscience and understanding neuroscience in how it's helping us to see the hidden powers of the brain in healing itself or expanding itself tells us something about what humanity's future is going to be. If you start to understand that we're learning more about the brain's ability to power itself, heal itself, expand itself, if you learn more about the brain's ability to remember more and understand more, then you can start to form a picture of the human being in the future as being one that just might be healthier, smarter, but we need to understand the neuroscience to be able to make those kinds of forecasts. But all of these things that we learn about the human brain relate to what will the human being be like 50 years, 100 years, 200 years from now, okay? So those are 2 takeaways, but we're going to do 5, okay? So space exploration, the human brain, and we're going to continue with the 3rd one, okay? Isabel, what would be a 3rd one?
I would say our legacy, and not necessarily thinking about like 200 years from now, but like 30 or 50 years from now.
Excellent, excellent. And how would you define legacy, Isabel?
It's a piece of knowledge or an idea that you leave behind rather than like a physical object.
Okay. The impact that you will have, more broadly, Isabel, it's the impact that you will have in your life on others. That really is the definition of legacy. The impact that you will have. What kind of impact would you like to have? Okay, our legacy in the near future, and it means personal legacy, as in your individual legacy, but it also means what do you hope that humanity as a whole is going to be leaving for other people who are going to be living on this planet 50 years, 100 years from now? What do you want the world to be doing better at, collectively speaking, we, humanity, so that the next generations who replace us will be in a better place? What do we need to be doing? That also is legacy, Isabel, but from a collective standpoint, from humanity as a whole. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Personal.
I think that our collective legacy is just as important as our personal legacy.
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. I might even say, for the sake of our classes in this course, the collective one is more important. Excellent. Okay. Let's do 2 more, and then we're going to conclude. What's another one?
Oh, I'm blanking.
Okay. I want you to think. I will write something while you're thinking, okay? So
All right.
your weekly reflection posts, your weekly reflections are critical. Okay? I think that was pretty clear at the beginning of the class and for quite a bit of it when I talked about the reflections. Okay? So your ability to reflect on things and think about things deeply, that is really critical. In every class, you're going to have a question that you're going to ask. And then you're going to explain, why did you ask that question? That's your discussion post every week. So you should already be thinking, just a sense of what might be your question today that you're going to ask, and you're going to then give the reason for that. So I can help you with that, Isabel, unless you have some other takeaway that you'd like to add. I'm going to ask you for the 5th takeaway for you to give us a question you might want to ask for your discussion post. What might that question be? You could change it between now and when the discussion post is due on Sunday, but just for the sake of our back and forth right now, based on what you've, go ahead, what would the question be?
Whether it's ethical or not within the next 30 years to reproduce and have children.
Wow, that's a huge question. That's a great question. Okay, so let's try that again, okay? So give me the question as briefly as you can and think about it, and then I will write it down. What an interesting question. Go ahead.
Whether it's ethical to have children, I'd say. It's probably shorter.
Is it? Wow. Well, hold on a second. Is it ethical to have children today? What an amazing and powerful question. Now, you could ask that question, of course you can, for your discussion post, but in the 325 to 350 words that you will explain why you asked that question, I'm going to ask you now as a way of just giving us a little rehearsal of that. If you choose to use this question, why would you ask that question?
I've always been at the strong standpoint that currently and today with what's going on, that it's really unethical to bring somebody else into this world.
Well, I am going to leave you with a thought, okay, Isabel? And then we will come back and return to this next week because you've just put your finger on a little bit of a raw nerve in this course. And you know what that is? Which is, are you an optimist or are you a pessimist about the future? And often when I do this activity with students in person, and we even have a little bit of a debate, I'm always interested in why so many students today seem pessimistic. Is it fair for me to say, Isabel, that you are a bit pessimistic about our future?
No, I would say that I'm an optimist. But
Then
you still
why
have
would you?
you still have to look at things ethically.
What's that?
You still, even if you're a pessimist, you still have to look at reality and the things going on. You don't want to cause more harm.
That's true, but I would think that if you were an optimist, you would think it's very ethical to have children. You want to bring children into the world because the world will be better. But if you're a bit of a pessimist, you would question and think maybe it's not ethical to have children. That's why I'm suggesting that maybe you're a pessimist.
I would say with like all of the critical things going on in the world right now, you still have to look at it with some logical thinking. Like you don't want to have a baby like within the next year and there be another war or
Yeah.
some sort of economical downfall.
Yeah. Sure. It's a great question. And particularly when you're asking about children, Isabel, because this is a course very much about the world that's going to come after you, the world that you leave behind for your children or for your grandchildren or for others. It will be, as we look into the future, be about your own life over this century, the 21st century. But there are bigger questions and bigger forces and dilemmas we will be looking at that very much pertain to your children and their children and their descendants. And so I think that Isabel's question is a very important one because it has these two vital words in them, children and ethics. And that's something that we will touch on more of week to week to ensure that you can at least have the tools, the mental tools, to be able to answer this question for yourself that Isabel has just asked. And I hope you can answer it in a positive way, saying, yes, it's ethical. Yes, I want to have children. But maybe you will learn over the next weeks that you need to pause and think more deeply about this, because you will begin to see that the world is facing greater challenges and greater difficulties. And you may not want to bring a child into a world that is becoming increasingly unsafe. So these are things that we can be touching on over the next weeks. But I'm really glad that Isabel mentioned ethics and she mentioned children. So I'm going to make sure those notes are saved. Everything is posted for you in the Class 1 folder. So all of this is going to be available in the next hour or so. I will post it in the folder. So for all of you who are watching this, which is the bulk of the class, you will have to do exactly what Isabel is doing. And that is, you're going to be writing a reflection on the class that you have watched. You're going to have to ask a question and give a reason for it, referring to the class content. The only thing that you have missed out on that Isabel hasn't is because she has joined the class online, live, she will be getting bonus participation marks for that, as you will next week if you join the class live like this. Okay, so Isabel, is there anything you'd like to say before we conclude?
No, I think I'm all good.
Yep. Okay. Well, I look forward to seeing your reflection by Sunday. And next week, we will continue. I may actually extend the deadline for your discussion post on Sunday, Isabel, to next Tuesday. So we'll see. Okay. But just know that at the earliest, it will probably be due this Sunday, but I may extend it to next Tuesday. I'll put that in DC Connect. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Have a great week. And you can always email me if you need me. Take care.
All right. You too.
Okay, Carol. So we're done. And just know that I'll be here next week as well at this time. All right. Take care.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Take care.
Yeah. See you. Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye. So here is what I'm doing now is I'm going to save. Oh, there it is. Okay, so there's the live chat. So I'll take the live chat. I'll save that. That's going to go into the folder. And I'm going to go over to the notes and watch how I do this. Okay, it's very simple. I'm going to go back to the board and I'm going to take this, put this in here. Okay, so I'm going to get these notes out of here, put them onto the stick, and then I'm going to push that all up onto DC Connect for you. So you're going to have the live chat, you're going to have the notes here, you'll have the class recording, there will be the NASA website that I will probably put up as a link, and there might be a video, although I didn't show a video today. So normally I don't put things up in the folder that we haven't explored together in the class. But you'll now, at least in what you see here, begin to get a sense of how things are going to work from class to class in terms of the content. So I need to do this to save it. I need to come over here. I'm going to export it to the USB stick. Is it ethical to have children today? I love that. And we're going to save it. So we're good here. I got my stick. I've got my pen. I can bring all of this back here. And I can bring that back. So there you go. That is the first class with the first reflection that you'll have to do. You have a overview of the content. You have my email on DC Connect. And if there's anything I'm missing, please let me know via email, or next week I will be here, same time, same place. Maybe you'll join online, or maybe you'll come in person and we can bring everything up then. Okay? So take care. Have a really good week.